So that right there is what I'm afraid of. That is not acceptable. When you hear wrestling, you think of either folk style, freestyle, or Greco-Roman wrestling. That video right there is not what you should think of when you think of any of those three types of wrestling. What that kid did pisses me off. Wrestling is a sport where that's just not acceptable. There's, in my opinion, too much integrity, honor, humility, humbleness in the sport of wrestling for that to even ever happen. And it's disgraceful to see. It really is. And if that's the first impression that someone gets from wrestling, then it's sad. And here's the thing, it's not only wrestling. Wrestling is just something I'm involved in. I've seen it firsthand. The changes that wrestling has gone through. Maybe it's been there before. Maybe that type of sour attitude's been there since the beginning. And it was usually just some bad apples. But I honestly think that nowadays it's becoming way too common for that type of thing to happen in a match. Because I'll go ahead and tell you, from first-hand experience, all throughout my middle school wrestling, I rarely ever saw something like that happen. Then, through my high school wrestling career, I experienced it firsthand. A kid was mad because I was beating him. I think that's what was going on. I don't know why he was pissed, but he shoved me. I was trying to get back up. We went out of the mat, and as I was getting up, he shoved me. I was mature enough to recognize that he was in the wrong, and I could take advantage of it. So when he shoved me, I looked at the ref, and I go, and the kid gets ejected and disqualified, and I get my win. Now, obviously, I wouldn't want to win that way, but if that's how you're acting on the mat, then you don't deserve to win. Now, I say that while also witnessing it firsthand as a coach. I actually got to witness my own wrestler deal with big emotions in a match and shove a kid and get disqualified. It was wrong what he did, but I will go ahead and say there's two big reasons why he did what he did. The one, the wrestler he was wrestling was name calling. Now, I get it. Big deal. We need to be bigger than that. As wrestlers, you need to be able to just be unfazed by it. It's just a work. You need to be able to recognize that he's saying that because he was losing. My wrestler was beating that kid bad. The score, he took him down, got some points, let him up, gave him a point, and he kept taking him down. My wrestler was beating him down, but he let him get into his head. That's one reason he said he lashed out and shoved the kid, and he was having problems all match because of it. The second reason is their coach. The other team's coach was instigating and trying to get a rile out of my wrestler, and it worked. He was yelling, always trying to talk to the ref, trying to get things swayed his way, talking to the ref about how my wrestler's doing this, that, and my guys aren't doing these things out of no reason. My guys have reasons to do it. They also need to recognize that when another team does that and acts that way, it's because they can't win. They can't win any other way, so they have the sourest attitude, and they think they deserve more than they get. And that's the sad reality of it all. Emotions get high in wrestling. Things happen. It just sucks to see it not controlled or tamed or coached through. But my worry is that this next generation of kids don't have respect for people, for authority, and any system in general. And you know what? When I was in my younger years, I was about the same, and I understand why the kids feel the way they do. But one thing about wrestling is that when I wrestled, I didn't question a thing that my coaches said. Maybe here and there if it didn't make sense, but other than that, no, you wouldn't catch me doing that. I did everything I was told. I did what I needed to do, and I trusted in my coaches to always put their best effort in me. And so I always gave them my best effort. My fear is that wrestling is taking some of the culture from basketball and it's making the sport look horrible. What I mean by that is basketball has so much attitude. In the NBA, these grown men are always bickering at each other, having drama. They don't let what they do on the court, their performance, speak for itself. They have to talk on top of it. And so it creates kids seeing that at the professional level, so they think it's okay. I saw an entire video about kids playing basketball, and every time they shoot a three, score a three, whatever, they make a good play, they're over here taunting. This shit, it infuriates me, because there was a kid who taunted And Kevin Durant had tweeted out, "Good shit, kid. You're just emulating your heroes, the professionals you see. That's what we did as kids. We saw the professionals do what they did, and we would always try to copy it. So it's a good thing that you're taunting this and that." Essentially, horrible role model, horrible advice to give a kid, to tell them to be a snot-nosed brat on the basketball court. I'm not a basketball player. I've never really been into basketball culture, but if that's the culture, if the culture is to taunt and act like a bitch, then it's a bitch sport, in my opinion. It makes me so mad, and the fact that it's bleeding into wrestling is sad. It sucks. Like I said before, it's not like wrestling has never had any fights. It's not like professionals haven't argued and shoved each other. Professional wrestlers, as in Olympic wrestlers, not that fake WWE stuff, which is a whole nother topic I'll go into in another video. It just makes me mad and sad to see that wrestling is starting to get crazy, and maybe it has been crazy since the beginning. There's a few more instances that I can mention. So there was a match. I don't know what was going on with the outcome, whether the parent just didn't like the outcome or they believed their kid was wronged in some way when wrestling, but a parent ran out onto the mat and trucked the other wrestler, not his kid, the other wrestler, and he got charged for it. It was insane. Don't ever be that parent or a coach or nothing like that. That just looks horrible. Makes you look like a bad person. Another instance happened recently where some local schools around this area, the high schools, one of the coaches shoved somebody. I don't know if it was a parent, a coach, a ref. I don't know who he shoved, but it led to a huge fight. And the reason he shoved him was because the match didn't go their way and they thought they got screwed over. There's no reason to act that way as a coach. And I'll go tell you now, I've acted in shameful ways as a coach. This year specifically, I've had issues with parents yelling at me. Not my own team's parents, it was actually other schools' parents. One of them was because this wrestler wrestled my guy, my wrestler, and he beat him. That's okay. You know, it happens. People lose, people win. It's part of wrestling. However, at the end of the match, my wrestler got shoved by the other wrestler. And because of that, I don't believe he earned or deserves to get his hand shook. And usually teams go to the other side to shake the other coach's hands. Not always, but sometimes they do. You know what? He didn't deserve my handshake. He came to shake my hand. I told him, "I'm not shaking your hand." That's all I said. And I said it calm. I didn't mean it disrespectfully. Well, maybe I meant it disrespectfully at the time. I'm not sure. But I didn't say it in a rude way. I just said, "I'm not shaking your hand." The match right after, my wrestler beats the other wrestler from the other team. He comes over to shake our hands, and, you know, I don't have any quarrels with this kid. So first the other coach goes to shake his hand, and I was going to shake his hand after. And the kid comes up, and he smacks the coach's hand. And you just don't do that. Like, I get it, wrestling is an emotional sport, but slapping the hand of a coach when he goes to shake your hand, why did you come to our side anyways? To try to shake a coach's hand just to slap it? I'm looking around like, what the hell's wrong with this kid? And then the parents go ahead and start yelling at me that I did the same thing. No, the fuck I didn't. I told the kid I'm not shaking his hand. I didn't slap it. I didn't hurt the kid. I didn't put my hands physically on that kid. I didn't do nothing. But the parents think and thought that it was acceptable for a kid to slap a coach's hand because I said I'm not going to shake your hand. And so I looked at the parents and I hit them with one of these. That was basically it. And then one parent or grandpa, I don't know, some older guy, was yelling at me. I had zero clue what he said. I probably heard some of it, but it just like went in one ear and out the other. And I just told him, like, come on then, like, come on down. And he said, "You come with me." I'm like, I didn't say anything. I just like looked away, but in my head I'm thinking, I'm not going to you. I got shit to do here. I'm coaching. You know, you're just sitting there spectating. And that's not the only instance. In a previous match, I had a parent yell at me because I don't know why. I know beforehand I yelled at my kid and I told him he's not wrestling like himself. He needs to fix it. And a parent started yelling at me. And honestly, I didn't hear a thing they said because they were too far away. But I heard them mouthing off, and they were looking right at me. And this is exactly what I did. Right here, I'm watching the match. I'm staring this way. I'm watching the match. I told them to shush. I put my finger on my mouth to tell them to shut up, basically. And they were like, and this is the only thing I did hear from them. They said, you don't tell me to shut up. You don't tell me to be quiet, this and that. And I will say, those two things I did, I am not proud of. I know I'm smiling while I'm saying this, but it's because of how ridiculous it is, and I need to be a better coach and have a better attitude, because if I don't, I'm gonna cause my wrestlers to be the next kid who punches and ends up online like that previous kid. I don't want that to happen. I don't want to lead my wrestlers into that path, into the path of being degenerates and acting like a fucking brat. It's so sad to see. It's so embarrassing. I also need to learn to work on my interactions with other coaches, because there are people and coaches specifically who intend to push your buttons for the sake of pushing your buttons and get a rile out of you, and that's their strategy to, get something swung in their favor, because they know they can't do it any other way. And I had that issue with a coach recently from another team, and I gotta tell you right now, he is as immature as I am, and I'm almost half his age. Keep in mind, I'm 21, so if that doesn't tell you his immaturity level, then I don't know what will. But I plan on being better. I plan on working and striving to help create wrestling in the image I saw it as a middle schooler. My image of it was the most respectful sport, the most honorable sport. I know I sound like a fucking samurai when I say that, like, it is my great honor to introduce you to, yeah, you know what I mean? I know it sounds maybe a bit cringe or cheesy, but I don't care. The sport is honorable, because at the beginning of the match, you shake your opponent's hand, and at the end of the match, regardless of outcome, you shake your opponent's hand. You have respect for the sheer fact that they are out there on the mat willing to fight you to see who is the better man, who is the better wrestler. That's what it comes down to. And I have a bad habit of disrespecting people for being on the mat, and that's not what I should do. Honestly, I need to be more mature than that. So yeah, the biggest problem facing wrestling is the generation that's coming up, what they're seeing online, and the disregard and the disrespect of any sense of discipline or authority. This culture that's bringing up our children, this next generation, is nothing to be proud of. And you know what? I don't mean the entire culture. There's things that are still around that, or some new things that are coming up that are good for people and help make them better people. But at the end of the day, the issue is that when all people see online is it's funny to be rude to people, it's funny to disrespect people, or they just do it to do it, or they're just a menace to be a menace, like those Twitch streamers who are complete nuisances for no reason besides they are losers and have nothing better to do. That is what people are watching. That's what kids are consuming, and they think it's okay. There's a disconnect from reality to that, and it sucks. It's really sad to see, and I think that I have an opportunity to maybe not influence a whole lot of people or an immense amount, but I hope that I can influence just enough in my local area to help regain discipline and respect from the next generation coming up. If you are a wrestler or a wrestling coach or a spectator of wrestling that is very involved with the community or just starting out, and you have your own thoughts and opinions on this, please let me know down below in the comments. Please share them. I want to see your feedback and see what y'all think about this. And if you agree or disagree with me, please let me know. I'm open to hearing new ideas and maybe changing my thoughts on this. So if you enjoyed, like and subscribe. If you want to join. Other than that, have a good one.